Good evening and a very warm welcome to the Sampurna Grand Challenge 2026 Expert Speak webinar. I am Drishti Makhijani and I will be your moderator for today's session. Sampurna Grand Challenge is an innovation challenge launched in partnership with the Department of Horticulture Karnataka, designed to identify, support, and scale solutions with the potential to curb post-harvest loss across key commodities in the state. Today's webinar is a part of a series designed to connect innovators, startups, and ecosystem builders with practitioners who've spent their careers building on the forefront of India's agri-food systems. To begin the webinar, may I now please invite Ms. Deepjani Samantare, Global Manager at Nutrition Connect, GAIN, who will deliver the welcome address and set the context for today's session. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Drishti, and welcome to all of you. And thank you for taking out time from your precious schedules to attend the session today. Just to set a little bit of context, we are gathered here today really to exchange a little bit of knowledge in the limited time that we have on our experience and insights around critical themes by way of this innovation, the Grand Innovation Challenge, the Sampurna Challenge that is helping to shape the future of food systems in India and beyond. This platform is envisioned as a bold and locally grounded scalable innovation platform to strengthen, build healthier, safer, more sustainable food systems. And it comes from a legacy of innovation challenges that the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition and partners in countries have developed across multiple countries, 9 other countries to be precise, of exactly something like this, of building the innovation ecosystem and nurturing it with public and private sector and community collaboration. Done across many countries in Africa and Asia before. So here we try and solve real world challenges, think deeper about sustainability, scalability, and market reality. Sampurna really means complete or whole, like the name reflects, such is also the ambition of this initiative, which is to bring together stakeholders across policy, yourself, as many of you are applicants. It tries to bring together markets, public systems, private sector, innovators and producers to try and strengthen Karnataka's agriculture and horticulture value chains while advancing nutrition, sustainability, and inclusive growth. This platform is co-created by GAIN, Nutrition Connect and Global, TTC, ABWCI, and our digital partner, Fortuna PR, also Active and Krishikalpa. And most importantly, I think all of us are really indebted to the government of Karnataka and to the Department of Horticulture at the government of Karnataka for their visionary leadership and support all throughout this endeavor. Our heartfelt thanks especially to Dr. Shalini Rajneesh Madam, Chief Secretary at the government of Karnataka, and Sagirish Reddy, Secretary, Department of Horticulture, Government of Karnataka, for their unwavering guidance and encouragement. This challenge is deeply connected to the realities of food systems, like many of you know already. And we are fortunate to have with us a stalwart in our midst, with Mr. Atul Bagai, former head of Country Office, United Nations Environment Program, who will be sharing about his extensive leadership experience across exactly this space. During the session, you will also hear from other experts, Dr. Parul Soni, Dr. Bhuvneshwari Balasubramaniam, Mr. Ajay Pandey, and Mr. Asim Juneja. We will look to Bhuvneshwari for a more deeper introduction of the Sampurna Grand Challenge and its key challenge categories for application, followed by a fireside chat conversation with Dr. Parul and our esteemed speaker, Mr. Atul Bagai. There will be an interactive Ask Me Anything session with Mr. Bagai after that, where all participants, such as yourself, can openly ask questions, followed by reflections and key takeaways. So please be interactive today. It's an interactive session. We encourage all of you to participate, engage in discussion. And we hope that you come out of this stronger in terms of thinking, collaboration. So I'll hand over back to Drishti for our next proceedings. Drishti.
Thank you so much for that, Dipjani. We now move forward to understand what the challenge is about. What is Sampurna seeking? What are the kind of solutions that you can apply with? Who can apply and what is in it really for you as an applicant? And for that, may I now invite Dr. Bhuvneshwari Balasubramaniam, Country Director, GAIN India, who has also been central to designing this challenge. Over to you, ma'am.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you so much, Drishti, and esteemed participants joining from across different regions of India. Thank you very much for taking the time and joining us as we have a exciting conversation with our esteemed chief guest for the event, Mr. Atul Bagai. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I will, in terms of being mindful of time, I'll jump right into why this challenge. That's what we will be unpacking, and what are the key crops? What does the innovation challenge really entail? So a quick context about Karnataka. We know that Karnataka is a horticulture powerhouse. It is one of the biggest producer of horticulture crops, and it has, a diverse climatic, agroclimatic zones to boast about, and an array of horticulture crops that it produces, including high-value crops such as grapes, pomegranates, and mangoes, and coffee that we all know very well about. There are millions of small and marginal farmers that depend on horticulture for their primary income. And some of the crops, the 7 priority crops that we have identified for this grand challenge, including onions, mango, banana, tomato, grapes, pomegranate, and pineapple, put together, they contribute to a cumulative value of 88,000 crores in Karnataka fresh food produce. So that's the scale that we're talking about when we're talking the priority horticulture crops. Despite this agriculture strength, Karnataka the horticulture production does have challenges when it comes to reaching its full potential, and that's what we are unpacking here. When we look at where losses happen, it's quite evident that it happens across the value chain, right from the time of harvesting, where there is damage that happens at the field level due to improper techniques, handling, and the timing of harvesting. At the sorting and grading level, at the farm storage level, with suboptimal cooling solutions, especially for crops like onions and grapes, with transport delays, spoilage, etc., in transit, at the wholesale and retail levels, owing to multiple handling points, price volatility causes due to inventory built up, especially during bumper crop seasons, at the processing units where capacity bottlenecks and quality rejections are some of the major reasons for losses to happen, and also during bumper crop peak season overflow. So it's safe to say that there is no single stage that food loss does not occur, and hence it's imperative that we look at food loss across the value chain. Why do these losses happen? There is concerns around capacity for cold storage that reduces the shelf life between farm gate to market. There is fragmented logistics, which results in losses at the transport level, lack of refrigerated vehicles at the last mile, etc., are some of the reasons. Weak sorting and grading, which is one of the stages where there's the largest loss that happens across these 7 priority crops, and inadequate infrastructure at the farm gate and collection centers drives these challenges both in terms of quality and quantity. Limited processing capacity, especially for these 7 crops, is something that's a major concern. information and market gaps that affects real-time demand data and decision making, and very often pushes farmers for distress sale, for instance, and smallholder vulnerability, given that over 80% of India's farmers are smallholders farmers across the different commodities. Now, when we talk about food loss, it's not just about the food that is lost. I mean, we all know the NAPCON study and how about $18 billion worth of food is wasted every year in India. It's about farmers' income that is lost. What is grown, not all of it gets sold. And as a result, there is significant loss to income for farmers. There is nutrition loss and there is nutrition denied, both across the value chain. And when losses cumulatively occur across different stages of the value chain, this has larger implication as to the food that is available on the plate towards the end at the consumption level. Women bear the burden, wherein women farmers, post-harvest workers bear the disproportionate loss, given that it affects bottom line, which is the household budgets as caregivers. Market instability, surplus seasons trigger price crashes and severe distress sales, while demand climate changes affect certain levels of demand. So there's a significant instability and volatility when it comes to food, and this could be mitigated if we are able to strategically look at food loss. Now, how did we go about identifying what this challenge would do? We had our Think Through Consulting Partners team help us with this gap assessment, which looked at identifying priority crops. Of the horticulture crops that are grown in Karnataka, we identified the top 7, which are produced the highest. So for this Sampurna Grand Challenge, the crops that we are looking for solutions to mitigate food loss include onion, mango, banana, tomato, grapes, pomegranate, and pineapple. So the solutions are for these crops. Immaterial, I mean, if you have some solutions that have worked for other horticulture crops and can be replicated for these crops, then, we would love to have you apply for this challenge. So we identified priority crops. We mapped every value chain. How do these crops travel from farm to market? Understood what is the loss at each stage through interviews, field assessments, and data from district officials, and then identified critical hotspots across the priority value chains. This is what the gap assessment did, and that's where several insights came out in terms of where food is lost. For instance, this table captures what the gap assessment revealed, which is, for instance, for onions, the largest loss stages include harvesting, farming, farm storage, and sorting, while for mango, it's at harvesting, sorting, and retail. So similarly, across the value chain, we have different challenges that came out when it comes to food loss during the gap assessment that we did. Now, from that evidence, we translated what the Sampurna Grand Challenge will address. And this largely looks at, we'll elaborate the 7 categories, but the 4 broad areas where the challenge can really bring in local and global solutions that can effectively control food loss include the harvest and post-harvest farm operations. That includes how harvesting is done, sorting, grading, storage, and on-farm mechanization and pre-cooling solutions. And for packaging and aggregation, how do we leverage biodegradable packaging, use of crates, community-level aggregation, and collective enterprise to ensure efficient and quick packaging and movement of goods from farm gate to market. Logistics and transport support that looks at cold and ambient chain logistics, last mile transport, route optimization, and other solutions. And finally, processing, finance, and digital solutions, which includes how do you create value-added products, how do you get access to innovative financing solutions, and how can we leverage digital solutions for real-time data decision-making and enable efficient sale for FPOs and farmers in general. Now, what does this mean for the government? It means opportunities to improve livelihood for farmers, improve farmer incomes, improve food security and nutrition security by reducing food loss and also by preventing nutrient loss, and also looking at realizing the potential for the state, both in terms of economy and in policy ambitions. And one of the key things that the state is keen to look at is how do we scale solutions and how do we attract investments from both government and from enterprises and private sector to address the challenge of loss at scale, and also look at building FPOs into MSMEs or into businesses that are then able to not just look at pre-harvest or input related work, but also post-harvest market linkage related capacities or capabilities. Now, why a grand challenge? GAIN has done this. Debjani has spearheaded this work across 10 plus countries where we have undertaken innovation challenges, innovative solutions that are replicable and have the potential to scale with government and private sector partnerships. The Sampurna Grand Challenge brings together multi-stakeholders, government, private sector, NGOs, startup ecosystem. And at the root of it, the ambition is to transform FPOs into thriving businesses with opportunity to create business maturity, driving the agrarian and enterprise ecosystem. We wanted to surface local solutions. There are several solutions across India that are waiting to be discovered so that it could be scaled up across the different regions and contexts. And that's what we want to really invite and request folks to come and apply for and participate in the challenge. The Sampurna Challenge has the goodwill and the support of Karnataka government. They are keen to scale this up and identify solutions that positively impacts the farmers on ground. And so there is that potential and the excitement of the scale that's possible with these innovations. And finally, that it is evidence-driven design. So quickly, what are the 7 challenges that the 7 categories that this challenge looks at? So when you are applying for this challenge, you would look at these 7 categories and see where does my solution fit in, and where can which category can I apply for under this challenge? So the first category is the post-harvest value chain solution, which looks at a range of, right from on-farm handling, mechanization, sorting, grading, cooling, all of those solutions that reduces right at the harvest and has the opportunity to extend shelf life and the product quality. Sustainable packaging, like we mentioned before, that enables protection of the product and is able to provide that opportunity for the nutrient and the food quality to retain as it moves through farm to market. Efficient logistic solutions that reduces transit delays and also extends shelf life. Community-led aggregation and enterprise. We are very keen to understand FPO-led models on collection, branding, and championing the local solutions, and also collective solutions that reduces individual transaction costs as the commodity moves to market. Innovative financing solutions, it's pretty self-sufficient, in terms of its explanation. There are several agri-tech solutions that are available out there. How do we leverage that to look at creating multi-stakeholder platforms, predictive analytics, and traceability solutions? And finally, circular economy and loss to value solutions, which includes processing, value addition. It also includes how do we create wealth from waste through biogas, composting, value-added products through recycling and upcycling. Finally, in terms of the timeline, the window for receiving application is currently open, and it's open till the 15th of June. We will share the QR code, which you could scan to go to the website to see more about this challenge and which category that you could be eligible to apply. Post 15th June, we do a long listing to look at completion of application the subsequent week, and we will do a short listing subsequently the next 2 weeks. By 10th of July, we'll do a short listing of the most exciting, the most innovative and relevant innovative ideas, which will then be presented to the expert panel group for their review. These shortlisted ideas also have the opportunity to be mentored by experts that we have been speaking to. These are stalwarts in our in the ecosystem of agri startups, agri tech solutions. Like Mr. Bagai was with us in the call, and we had Mr. Nitin Puri earlier. We have a series of such stalwarts who have agreed to become experts in our in this effort, and you will be mentored. The shortlisted candidate innovative solutions will be mentored by these expert group, and then a final list of 7 winners will be awarded. So this will happen between the 15th of June till the 15th of August. So what's in it for the winners? We are going to identify 7 winners and a cash prize of up to 50 lakhs. And there is the opportunity to work closely with the government to support in converting these innovative or willing solutions into commercially viable ventures in Karnataka, along with recognition, opportunity for mentorship and networking, felicitation, and networking opportunities with stakeholders and investors. Who can apply? The matrix that's here. Anybody who is in the agribusiness ecosystem, you're eligible to apply. And let me just share the QR code for you to scan. This will be available later on as well for you to scan as we move through the event. But thank you so much for the opportunity to share the details. Over to you, Drishti.
Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of our participants might have a lot of questions. I request all participants to either put their questions in the chat or wait, because towards the end of the webinar, you have a slotted time of about 10 to 15 minutes to interact with everybody and get your questions specifically around the challenge sorted. We now move to the heart of our session, which is the fireside chat, which we all have been waiting for. And for this chat, may I now please invite Mr. Atul Bagai. Mr. Bagai is a retired IS officer and former head of the country office at the United Nations Environment Programme, India. He has served several key positions within the government, including the director of the ozone cell at the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. At the United Nations Programme, Sir led India's hydrofluorocarbon phase-out program, where his work included work on cold chain infrastructure and energy efficiency. He has also coordinated environmental compliances across South Asia, working with governments in India, Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives, and Mongolia. Mr. Bagai brings a policy and governance perspective to today's webinar. And to lead the chat with him, we have Dr. Parul Soni, founder of ABWCI and global partner at Think Through Consulting. Sir has been an architect behind the Sampurna platform. Over to you.
Thank you, Drishti. Really so happy to see our friends today participating. And also, sir, I'm so excited that we will be talking to you. Mr. Atul Bagai, not only he has extensive experience of working in the government, but also extensive experience in leading large country programs and also working with the UN country office in India for UNEP. So, sir, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. And a lot of people have approached us to see that, when, you'll be you will be sharing your experience. They want to know how from grassroots to capital, from district to the capital of India and also globally, how these countries, how these programs are being implemented. And so first of all, when we talk about this whole food loss and the challenge, so when the platform was created, the platform was to see that how we can bring the whole multi-stakeholder platform and also actors into it. So my question, the first question to you on this is that, as per your experience when you were, because you have done various roles at the district level, as a district collector, magistrate, and also at the state level when you were principal secretary and additional chief secretary, all that, from that perspective, was this as food loss was a main issue or how was it and how the government dealt with it, and also some part of ONORC, when One Nation, One Ration, from the perspective of the largest program as such. So we want to understand from you, and then we will see how, from other perspective, that we will be talking about the horticulture produce as such. So over to you, sir. But welcome.
Thank you, Parul, and thank you to all the panelists here and to the audience. And Parul, I must also say thanks for giving this very exciting opportunity to work on food loss, which is such a critical element of SDGs also. And I'm also equally excited to be part of this very unique initiative. I must say that I, at various levels, working in the state government and in the central government, and subsequently in the United Nations Environment Program, food loss has been a theme that has been there throughout. When I was a sub-divisional magistrate and a district magistrate, our main connect with food loss was basically regarding how to ensure that not only is it minimized, but it is also accessible to the rural community in your subdivision and your district. And that was a very important consideration as a subdivisional magistrate and a district magistrate, that food is supplied through the ration system and otherwise to the population in the subdivision and district. And that was our primary responsibility. And of course, I'm talking of 80s and 90s, which is a situation which was so different from what it is today, that the approaches were also very, very different. It was mostly government-oriented, government-led. Those things have changed in the present scenario when you're bringing in this amazing challenge. So I think what we were dealing with was also food procurement, which was very, very important part of our assignment and job. And that was where we had to ensure that we minimize food loss. And we had extremely difficult challenges in those days when the whole central warehousing system was not so well established as it is now. And that was one of the prime reasons that the food loss was of immense quantities, because we didn't have storage facilities. We used to procure food grains and it was lying out in the open for months at end. And you can imagine the nature's vagaries which led to immense food loss. I also had the opportunity of being a regional food controller in Jhansi division, what we call Sambhagiya Khadya Niyantrak. And our assignment was basically to procure food grains for the government on MRP and also store them till it is transported to the communities that are needing the food grains. And that is where I really felt that the amount of food which was being lost on a daily basis was so huge, and the kind of implications it had, as Bhuvneshwari has pointed out very coherently, that it's just not that we're losing food. There's the spin-offs which were relating to nutrition, to livelihoods, to loss of food resources is so huge that we really needed to gear up our administration to address those issues. While joining United Nations Environment Program, that's where one really understood the whole theater of food loss in terms of the environmental effects it was having. It's a well-known fact. It is said that if food loss was a country, it would have been the 4th largest carbon emitter in the world, after the 3 large carbon emitters, US, China, and India. So I think that puts into perspective the importance of food loss and food systems. And I think in UNEP, our initial focus about 6 or 7 years back was to first bring in the data. And you've also pointed out such important data about Karnataka. 88,000 crores is a huge amount. Meaning, if your food economy, production economy is 88,000 crores, the losses are huge, that you are actually basically not only losing money, but then you're also losing the whole ecosystem of food production, the soil, the water, the nutrition. There are losses in that also, and those need to be computed. I think the whole approach of natural capital accounting needs to be brought in when you're talking of food loss. It's not the loss of food grains, but it's a loss you are having on a variety of other factors which lead to food production. And I think that data is very important. And for Karnataka, and when you're doing this challenge,
Yeah.
in UNEP, our approach is that science is what leads to policy. And science, when you have collected enough data, you've collected enough data analysis, that is what will help Karnataka government bring in policies that will minimize food loss. So I think the experience which I've had over the past 42 years is certainly that we need to make our science more efficient and more credible. And that is what will help Karnataka government to really bring in a very sound and robust policy. And I think Sampurna challenge is very, very clear that the founders were applying to Sampurna, for them solutions that are embedded in the government structures, that are embedded in the rural economy, are the solutions that will be the most efficient.
No, thank you so much, sir. सर इस पूरे संदर्भ में जो ये डिस्कशन हो रहा है जो फूड लॉस का, उसमें एक सबसे बड़ी चीज आती है कि किसान जो है, वो जो एक छोटा किसान है, वहां पर कोल्ड स्टोरेज की फैसिलिटी नहीं है. आज आप बात करें 42 साल की आपके एक्सपीरियंस में जो सिचुएशन पहले थी और आज की सिचुएशन में फर्क इतना ही है कि आज जो है हर गांव में गाड़ी जाने लगी है और वहां पर सुविधाएं मिली हैं, पर सुविधाएं जो हैं वो किसानों के लिए उतनी नहीं मिली जितनी की सुविधाएं मिलनी चाहिए थी. अगर आप ये देखें कि फूड बास्केट की बात करें या किसान की बात करें, तो उस किसान को अपना सामान रखने के लिए, तो एक तो पहले है कि हम हार्वेस्ट की बात करें कि भाई अगर उग रहा है, जो भी हम हॉर्टिकल्चर की बात करते हैं तो हम एक हार्वेस्ट की बात करते हैं, उसके बाद उसको स्टोर करने की बात करते हैं, स्टोर करने के बाद लॉजिस्टिक्स की बात करते हैं, लॉजिस्टिक्स के बाद एपीएमसी. सो what is happening in this whole thought process is that the farmer is losing its entire produce or 30% of the produce because of the reason that this kind of infrastructure is not available. So in that, what is your thinking that how should we do this differently? Or dusra, from the other perspective is that if this perspective of bringing change, according to you, what should we do and how should we do?
देखिए, कोल्ड चेन जो है ये पूरी कड़ी का एक महत्वपूर्ण अंग है. मैं तो ये कहूंगा सबसे महत्वपूर्ण अंग कोल्ड चेन है, क्योंकि पुराने जमाने में, मैं 30, 40, 50 साल पुरानी अगर बात करूं, सब्जी या फूड प्रोडक्ट्स को घर तक पहुंचाने का जो सिस्टम था वो बिल्कुल चेंज हो गया. अब आपके मोहल्ले में लोग सब्जी बेचने नहीं आते हैं या आपको फल बेचने नहीं आते हैं. आप सुपरमार्केट में जाते हैं, मॉल में जाते हैं, वहां से खरीदते हैं. और सबके लिए कोल्ड चेन जो है वो बहुत बहुत महत्वपूर्ण हो गया है. अगर मैं कहूँ इंडिया में कोल्ड चेन इस समय अगर आप उसको कंपेयर करें लंदन से.
Sir, sorry, I'm just interrupting. The people are writing that please speak in English. I also asked you in Hindi, but there are a lot of people who are joining from the south of India, so they want you to speak in English. Sorry.
Okay, आपने हिंदी में प्रश्न किया तो I thought कि चलिए मैं हिंदी में जवाब देता हूँ. I was also testing my Hindi. So what I was trying to say, cold chain is really the most important element and link in the whole food loss chain, value chain. And India's cold chain, if you're looking at the spread of cold chain in India, it is 1/100th of what, for example, a city like London has. So you can see the kind of expanse and the potential that is there for cold chain. Now, does India need to follow London or UK or European countries in terms of cold chain? And I think no. Meaning, of course, we will have to have very well-defined, structured cold chains managed by large private sector companies. And for example, Carrier has an entirely different wing on cold chain, apart from the work they do on cooling. So that's a very important element. And I think Sampurna Challenge and also this whole project and Karnataka government should really open up a dialogue with Carrier, for example, because they have very good solutions. But the issue is the food loss is taking place at the place of production, which are rural areas. What do you do there? And I would like to highlight recently, last month, I was in a village in Kutch, near Anand, Chakrasi. And in fact, we had taken Hillary Clinton there to see some of the work that was happening on cold chain, which Seva was spearheading. And I was very happy to see that in a small village, they had converted a container into a cold storage, which was suitable for about storing almost 300 tons of potatoes for about 50 or 60 villages around that main village. Now, it was totally a rural-centric program. It was managed by the women cooperatives of Seva, and it had actually led to an increase of not only the price of potatoes in which they could sell it, but also the whole middlemen were taken out of this whole equation. So that's a very good example which decentralized cold chain systems, pack houses in villages is a good solution, solar-based, for seeing that it is accessible to the villagers, to the farmers, to the producers. Large cold chains which are managed by large private sectors may not be accessible to the most vulnerable and the most interior kind of places. So that's one good solution. I think the government set up the National Center for Cold Chain Development, NCCD, which is based, headquartered in Delhi. I think that's an organization with which Karnataka government should really, and I'm sure they would be working closely. And you, as a part of this program, should get in touch with them to see how they can help in decentralizing this whole cold chain system to the rural areas. And one of the chaps who really founded it, and he's no longer there, Bhuvnesh, I'm sure you may have been in touch with him.
Yeah.
He is a top cold chain expert in India for food products. So I think cold chain is important also, and you're very well aware 10 years back, I think the onion prices in Delhi shot up and it almost led to the fall of a government. So that food loss is so critical for the governments also. So I think a combination of private and public collaboration in cold chains is very, very important, and decentralizing it is also equally important.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, sir. I think this is important. And you have covered some of the question which I had for you was basically on the environmental issues which led to, for example, the loss of vegetables or fruits, horticulture leads to a lot of implications to the environment because of the gases, emissions, and carbon as such. So because you have also led that kind of a program. So according to you, what is, I'll not say the solution, but how should we deal with it?
See, you are aware that environment is now becoming the most critical factor across all sectors. You take industrialization, you take infrastructure development, you take any sector, the environmental footprint or the environmental impact is something that is becoming so important. And the policymakers have also started looking at this lens for whatever work they're doing. And that's very important. I think that's where also the Food and Consumer Affairs Ministry and the state departments of horticulture or food need to look at food loss also through the environmental lens. I mean, wasted food, as you are saying, is not just a loss of total income or the revenue, but every kilogram which is lost represents the wasted land, as I said earlier, or water or energy or labor or fertilizers and transport. And there are losses at all these levels, as the initial speakers and Devjani also pointed out, that through the value chain, the food loss is there. It's not just the loss of the food grains or the food products or the horticulture products. It's a loss across the entire food chain. So, and as I said, meaning 88,000 crores for Karnataka government being the sector, it's a significant share of that value and all the resources that have gone behind it that are destroyed. So I think we will need to look at what has been the environmental impact of this. And these losses get compounded at every stage till it reaches the consumer. So I think through the loss, through the value chain, we really need to calculate what are the environmental losses that are happening. And as I said, the natural capital accounting system is something that will be very, very helpful for a food loss analysis. And the cost, I think, goes beyond food and environment. Meaning, as Bhuvneshwari said, that losses would deny nutrition to families who need it. And I think that is a very, very important
That's an
fact
important point.
that
Yeah.
that we really need to look, and it also leads to price crashes during surplus and price peaks. So I think for the founders and for Karnataka government, the environmental lens can strengthen the business case.
Yeah.
And this strengthening of business case can be looked at from three perspectives. It will enlarge and broaden the value proposition of food loss. And I think that's what policymakers will really get attracted to. And also, it will improve the policy relevance. As I said, the science which will lead to policy development, if the environmental lens is there, the policy will be that much more robust. And also, it makes the solutions which your challenge is going to bring forward. If the applicants are going to look at through an environmental lens, it will position these solutions within the sustainability-oriented investors and institutions who would like to fund. They'll also try to look at this in terms of how much funding can come in. And increasingly globally, now investors are looking at investing in solutions that are environmentally friendly.
Correct. No, sir, that's very correct. And also, what is happening, this solution, this Grand Challenge and the Sampurna platform has been it's first of its kind globally. And it's first of its kind, which is started by, with the support of state government of Karnataka. But this will also be replicated in other states because food loss and food waste has been two things which people don't understand, because one is the harvest loss and the waste is basically the waste which is the processed food waste. So from that perspective, what we are doing is, it is the first time which we are doing it, we are trying to create. But this will also be replicated in other states. It will be also replicated in other countries. And this will also become a big platform to work on. So we will, first of all, thank you so much, sir, for, doing this and also coming on this show, because we feel, we are very honored about it. The second is your experience, what you spoke about was very, very encouraging and enriching as such on this. So there is a section of experts speak where there are some questions which people ask. So I will leave it on this because I feel that the time is of essence. So, over back to Drishti.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful conversation. We now move to a section that is my favorite. This is Ask Me Anything, where participants and almost everybody gets an opportunity to directly ask you any questions that they might have, when they're building in this space, be it about cold storage, be it about what is the solution that actually moves beyond pilot and has the potential to be actually institutionalized within the system. What does that kind of look like? So I think now I would like to open the floor for any questions. We can do this in two ways. One, you can type in your question in the chat and I can take it up with sir, or in case if you have a question that you would want to directly ask, you may want to raise your hand and we will give you the opportunity to unmute and ask your question on your own. Before we begin this session, I would like to reiterate that this section is specifically for general questions about building in this space and not necessarily around the Sampurna Grand Challenge in terms of eligibility or whether you can apply in a category or not. For those questions, we have a separate section. We now open the floor for any questions that you might have. We can also remove the screen share if that's okay. Thank you so much. I think in the meantime, we have two hands. We will first give Mr. Vasant the opportunity to ask his question. Over to you, Mr. Vasant.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes. So is the challenge open to non-perishable items also, for example, grains, pulses, and spices?
Mr. Vasant, this section is particularly for any questions that you might have for Mr. Bagai. We will be taking this question separately towards the end of it.
Okay.
End of the
Okay.
webinar. Thank you so much.
Maybe but it's my hand, the other hand that was up.
If you would want to.
Yes, I'm asking this with all our experts who are coming to speak, just as a way to also garner insights. Sir, the idea of empowering FPOs plays a very important role we understand now that over 90 to 95% of FPOs currently are involved in the agri input side, and it requires a strengthening of the business acumen, so to speak, for them to then look at the post-harvest related work. But they are basically a group of farmers who are coming and joining hands to look at post-harvest market linkage related activities. What, according to you, are some of the critical things that, let's say, for instance, Karnataka government needs to ensure or needs to have as priority, if this whole transitioning for FPOs into businesses have to roll out effectively, what could be the few learnings that you can share with us, sir?
Yeah, no, that's a very important point, and meaning I don't have to emphasize that the whole business model of Anand is a very good example of drawing lessons of how cooperatives can work, and that happened 50 years back. But now the whole FPO revolution that has taken place in the whole country, that is something that really needs to be strengthened. There's no doubt about it that the business acumen is lacking. But I'll give another example, meaning I'm sure you must have all heard about Balani in Bundelkhand. And I think if that model where women cooperatives and women FPOs, again, it was a milk revolution, but in the last 7 years, their turnover is now 700 crore rupees. And that business model was actually developed by the local administration and the Ministry of Rural Development. And their whole focus was to first train the women cooperatives and the FPOs on running a business. They got expertise from outside. They got business people to come and stay in Jhansi, train them over a long period and build their acumen. So I think that's the most important part. Then, of course, the capital is something which is needed for seeing that these business ventures are able to sustain them. And they started with the seed capital that was provided by the government. But I think within 2 or 3 years, they became self-sufficient. Now they have a turnover of 700 crore rupees. So I think that initial hand-holding is something which is so very important. And third, I think the most important part is if there is a strong leader to lead that at a local level, and that's what is normally lacking in most of our endeavors. And in Karnataka, if you can find 1 or 2 strong leaders who can lead this whole FPO movement at the grassroots for food loss and food loss prevention, I think that would be a very important resource, and the state government should look for such champions to spearhead this whole thing.
I think those are very pertinent points. Thank you so much, sir, for your insights.
I would have one question actually to follow up on that. So you were talking about solutions and the kind of solutions that would work. Taking this a little forward, if in your experience, if you could highlight what were two things that you saw that solutions had that succeeded and the solutions that failed, especially in the supply chain solutions in the cold storage space that succeeded. So things that separated the successes from the failures.
I think the two most important things in India, we are all, I think, now getting over this whole pilot syndrome, where NGOs or governments or private sector, they want to try a new solution, they go in for a pilot. And then, after a pilot has been run through or is successful, the focus goes on to something else. So I think what solution which is scalable, which is sustainable over a long term, and that's where the state government of Karnataka will really need to come in to see that whatever they are supporting in terms of startups or solutions are able to sustain over a longer period of time and not just 1 or 2 or 3 years. And I think that's a very critical part. And as I said in my earlier questions with Parul, that the local context is so very important. Meaning a person sitting in, meaning you open this to global institutions also in terms of applying. If someone is designing a solution that is not rooted in the local context or local realities, I think that's not going to succeed. So I think understanding of the whole local ecosystem in Karnataka is something that the Sampurna applicants should be very, very aware of and should try to contextualize their solutions to the local context and what are the local limitations and the challenges. I think that's what will make the solutions sustainable and long-lasting.
Thank you so much, sir. So there is one last question from Mr. Loganathan, and I would request sir to unmute and ask his question.
Madam, is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have seen the eligibility conditions. It is mentioned that the people from Karnataka only eligible. Is it correct, or anybody can apply from anywhere in India?
Sir, this section was specifically about questions for Mr. Bagai, but the next section will be dedicated to answering questions related to the challenge and eligibility criteria. So I would request you to hold your question until we move to the next section.
Okay.
Thank
Sorry
you.
for that.
No.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. With that, we come to the end of the fireside chat. Thank you so much, sir, for taking our time and speaking to our participants, answering all our questions, and we walk away with much clearer understanding of what it takes to build a solution that is rooted in contextual realities and something that has the potential to be institutionalized or scaled up. I would now like to hand it over to you for your parting words.
No, thanks a lot. No, I think it's really a unique challenge. I got reminded of the circular design challenge, something that I developed with Reliance Foundation on textiles, and I realized that an approach of organizing a challenge is a very good one to really come up with very credible solutions. And I'm very excited with this challenge that you've started, which is really unique. And I think in the food systems, it's not only unique, but the first of its kind. So I would like to congratulate Parul and Bhuvneshwari and everyone of thinking about this. But just parting words that when the applicants are applying for this and they would have many questions, that they should think about whether the idea solves a real chain bottleneck. Meaning these are the contexts they should be looking at. In circular design challenge, initially we got so many entries which did not actually address the main mandate of the challenge. So making it very clear to the applicants is something that's very important. You should look at. And I think one of the gap assessments that you were talking about in your presentation is that it flags that processing units are a real hotspot for food loss. And I think this is where the circular interventions are most urgently needed. And then if you can guide some of the applicants to focus on that, I think that you will get then solutions that you really need on the ground and not solutions that are totally not connected to the kind of objectives we have set out for this.
Thank you so much, sir. And we look
Thank
forward
you
to
so
be
much.
continue to be guided by you as we progress forward. Parul, yeah.
No, thank you so much, sir. It was such a pleasure to host you today and many more to come. And thank you, Bhuvneshwari, for this. And over to Drishti for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We now move forward to the last stretch of our today's webinar, which is the Q&A section. This section is specifically for challenge-related questions. So all the questions that you had up to this point regarding the eligibility, category in which you can apply, all of those will be answered in this specific section. And to answer those, we have the architects behind the challenge. We have Mr. Ajay Pandey, we have Dr. Bhuvneshwari Balasubramaniam, and we have Mr. Aseem Janeja with us. What we will do is we will request participants to raise their hands and we will let you unmute and ask your questions. Or alternatively, you can post your question in the chat box and we will take it up from there.
Maybe we can start with the question from Mr. Loganathan, if I'm not wrong, who asked whether the challenge is applicable only for those from Karnataka. The answer is no. You can apply if you can be based out of anywhere in India, and if your solution is applicable to the region of Karnataka, then you are eligible to apply, provided it is for those 7 crops which we are looking at. But the caveat is that if it is chosen as one of the winning solutions, you should be also able to support and be available for the Karnataka government to look at how do we look at scaling up those solutions. So I hope, Mr. Loganathan, we were able to answer your question. So yes, you are bottom line, you are eligible to apply.
There is a question in the chat regarding the prize pool and whether the prize pool is the amount to be distributed among 7 winners. Dr. Bhuvneshwari, Ajay, would you want to take this up?
Yeah, sure. So we do at this point in time recognize that this will be like a winner's cash prize would be subsequently higher in this pool of 50 lakhs. But what we also recognize is that there are now increasing levels of interest from private sector partners to partner with us and to sponsor the event or the challenge. So while we have stated this as 50, we do see the pool of money to be increasing. And so at this point in time, we're looking at winners getting up to 50 lakhs. And this could be both cash and opportunity to scale up your work with the government of Karnataka. But as we move forward in the coming months, I think we would be able to provide more exciting news of additional prize money opportunities.
Thank you so much. We have a next question on what are all commodity we can select, or can we select any specific problem to be addressed related with packaging?
Asim, can you answer this question?
So in terms of the commodities, I understand that there are seven select crops that we are looking at. Beyond that, if you have any sort of crops that you would want to apply for, but the condition being that the solution that whatever you are presenting in the application should be replicable for those 7 crops. That is also eligible. That application would also be taken up for further evaluation. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Next question is around, can we apply in more than one category, or can we apply one application in two different segments?
So it's up to you. Either you can leverage category number 1 for providing an integrated sort of detailing of your entire solution. A much more preferable way would be to split your solutions into different categories and apply between category 2 and category number 6, where you can share even more details about each of the solution that you want to be eligible and applicable.
I think those were all the questions that we had today. Thank you so much for joining us. This is, again, one of the webinars in the coming series. We have our next one planned with Mr. Vilas Shinde on the 22nd of May. Stay tuned for that. I think there is one last question that has come up. I think we will take that up before we wrap it up. It is around, I am working on spent coffee grounds. Can I apply?
So yes, spent coffee grounds is a key aspect of circularity that we are talking about. If you feel that the solution that you are applying towards spent coffee grounds can be replicated potentially towards the 7 crops that are under consideration at the moment, we'll be more than happy to review your application.
We have another question. We are working for post-harvest loss company name as AgroGrade. I think they've just stated this. So do you have a follow-up question to that? We're manufacturing optical sorter, and I think they want to understand whether they can apply.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, agreed.
For onions and potatoes, certainly, yes. Onion is a direct fit. And if you see any other fit for any other crops in the 7 category, then definitely.
Yes. I think we will, in the interest of time, have to close this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Again, this is not the first or the last in the series. We will be meeting again on the 22nd. In case you feel like you have more questions or you want to hear Mr. Vilas Shinde, please feel free to tune in. On the 22nd, we will be sharing the registration link for that as well. But before we close, this is the link to register. You can scan the QR code and apply to the Sampurna Grand Challenge. Thank you so much for being such a great audience. Thank you so much. And with that, we close the webinar for the day.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.